This Lunch and Learn is brought to you by the Candy Factory, a co-working and social club here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Visit coworkinglanc.com for membership details and to schedule a tour.
Okay, we're going to get started. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Lori Johnson. Lady Start Your Engines is my business. And what we're going to do today is just a small part of what I normally teach, which is a 2-hour hands-on class for women. So it's a basic maintenance class. Everything that they learn is on the car. We can do it in a parking lot, as you can see here. So this is going to be how to change a tire, and we're going to talk about that. And one of the things that I always like to tell people who say to me, oh, you know what, I don't care about changing my tire because I've got AAA or I've got, whoever coming out. Well, I'll tell you that one of the good things about knowing how to change a tire is that if somebody comes along and they're going to do it, you know if they're doing it right. There's a lot of people out there. There's people driving trucks that don't necessarily do things the right way. So we're going to talk about how to do it, and now you'll have a choice. It'll be your option whether you want to change that tire or not, and you'll have a say if you watch somebody and you think that they're doing it wrong. Okay, so if you have any questions along the way, feel free to just jump in, ask a question. I want to thank Austin for volunteering his vehicle here today. And Austin, I haven't spoken to you before about this, right? We haven't done anything to this car? Okay, there is no magic. Okay, so we didn't loosen the wheel or anything like that. So it's, whatever happens today happens. And that's why I like to work on someone's car, because I know what happens to mine. So, but this one, and Austin can tell you, one of the things that I'm going to say is, if you're one of those people that carries a bunch of stuff in your trunk or in the back, guess where all that's going to be when you have to change that tire? On the side of the road. So if you're driving around with your dog's 25-pound food bags and big cases of water and all that kind of stuff, it's going to all have to come out, because most likely your spare tire is underneath in the back. So let's talk about what happens if you get a flat tire driving down the road. You're probably going to notice, well, now with the tire monitors, it's probably going to come up on the dash. But if you don't have that, you might start to feel the car's pulling, you're hearing a thumping, something like that. You're going to pull over and check and see what's going on. Most important thing is that you want to get yourself to a safe place where you can change that tire. I used to live in Philly, so on the Schuylkill, if anybody's been on the Schuylkill, standing right here while the traffic's going by at 90 miles an hour is probably not a good place. So try to get yourself off to a safe area where you can change the tire. You want to be on a flat surface. You don't want to be, on a hill. I would say most people worry about I don't want to drive in that tire. It's going to damage it, whatever. You have one life. Get yourself to a safe place. I could care less what happens to that rim or that tire. So really get yourself off the road where you can work on it. So the next thing, once we get the tire, or we get someplace where we're on a flat surface and we can work on it, we want to make sure that we put on a parking brake. Okay, so the car's not going to roll anywhere. So keep it on a flat surface, put the parking brake on. And then now we're there and we're ready to change a tire. So a couple things that we're going to look at here first is, does anybody know, is this an alloy wheel or a metal wheel? Does anybody know the difference?
Alloy.
So this is an alloy wheel. This whole wheel is the wheel itself. Sometimes you might have a car, and I don't know if they make them so much anymore, but there's a metal steel wheel underneath here and there's a plastic cover on top. So it's possible when you look at this, you might not see these lug nuts. And they're underneath something. So something's going to have to come off the front of that to even get to your lug nuts. And be careful, I'll tell you, they do make plastic wheel covers with little plastic lug covers. And I've seen so many people, in the shops, take a big air gun and put it on there and break that plastic right off. So usually those are what are holding the whole thing to the wheel, and you just unscrew them and that whole cover will come off. Also, if you're driving a Volkswagen, I've seen it in Volkswagen, trying to think what other cars, they'll have a cover that just is this round part covering up your lug nuts, but there's only a little hole to get it off. And in your toolkit, there will be a special little tool that fits in there, and you'll pull that, and it'll pull that cover off. So there's no place to put a screwdriver or anything like that. So you want to be really careful that you don't lose your tools that come with the vehicle as well. So that's a good opportunity to talk about. One of the first things you should do whenever you get a car, especially a used car, is open up the trunk and check inside and make sure that you, one, have a spare tire if you're supposed to have one. A lot of cars are not coming with spare tires anymore. But if the spare tire is supposed to be there, that it's there, and that all your tools are there. Because most likely you're going to find that out when you're on the side of the road. And that's not a good place to find out. And as we know, when you go to change a tire, you get a flat tire, it's not going to happen on a beautiful day like today where you're out in the country and you're thinking, wow, this is so beautiful, I don't even mind, I'm going to spend an hour to change this tire. It's going to be raining, it's going to be dark, you're going to be on a street you don't know, and you're in a hurry to get somewhere. Okay, so knowing where everything is in your trunk, first thing I'm going to tell you. In your glove box, one of the things you should be looking through is your owner's manual. So pull this out, take a look through it. A lot of good information in here. One of the things that I'm going to tell you is in the back, there's a maintenance section, and there's always directions here on how to change a tire. It's going to show you where the tools are, where you're going to jack the car up. You can't just, throw it under there anywhere and start wrenching away on it. So look in your book, find out where your tools are, what you need to know. There's pictures that go along with that. So you want to know that. All right, so now we're on the side of the road, we're someplace safe, we're on a flat surface, and we're ready to change the tire. So let's get, I do participation classes, which means my hands might get dirty, but somebody else's hands are going to get dirty. So let's get somebody to come over here. We're going to open up the back. We're going to see where our tools and our tire are, and we're going to get them out of the car. So volunteer. Come on. Somebody. All right, come on, Gene. All right. Yeah, see that? All right, so here, yes. Thank you, Vanna. All right, so our tire is going to be underneath this cover. And we've cleared everything out of here so we can lift this out. And now here's the spare tire. In order to get it out, it's just locked in with a screw. So we're just going to unscrew that. And I'll tell you right now that it's a good idea before you get a flat to go in here and make sure you can loosen this. Because if you can't and you need like a pair of pliers and those are at home, you're going to be stuck on the side of the road with a tire you can't get out of the back. All right, so this is what it looks like. It just holds it down. It should be plastic. Obviously the thread part is metal, but sometimes this might be in so tight that you just can't get it off. And look at that, already she has pulled it out of the car. See that? It's okay. All right, you can put it down. Yes, right on the ground. We're gonna just, yep, but not like that. Okay, so that, yeah. Let's try not to scratch the. Okay, so remember we were talking about what is a metal rim and what's an alloy. So this is what a metal rim looks like. So this isn't going to be some pretty tire. This is going to be something that you're going to put on to drive to get to where you need to go, right? I don't care if that alloy wheel might cost you $300. This you might be able to even get at a junkyard for like $50. So that's the difference. One of the things I want to point out on this tire is right here, it says temporary use only, right? Temporary use only. This is not a tire that you put on and then you drive for 3 months and you go on family trips with it, Does anybody notice like a difference between this tire and that tire? Yeah, it's skinnier, right? In this case, it is about the same size in the sense of, it looks big. You know how some of the wheels, they call them a donut. Funny story, when I was working at the dealership, a woman came in And she said, oh, I'm here to get a new tire. I had to put my bagel on. Like, oh, it works for me, don't it, bagel? So anyway, so this tire, temporary use only. Can somebody tell me what the average tire pressure would be on this tire on your car? Anybody know? Yeah, 30s, in the 30s, right? Right here on this tire, you'll see that it says 60 PSI. It says 60 PSI. This is like a bicycle tire. That's the only way I can describe it, right? So it's not a, nice cushy tire. It's just a tire to get you down the road. And it's meant to, if you have to drive on it for maybe a week, that's fine. But it's not something that you just keep driving on, and you shouldn't really be doing highway speeds on this tire. Although I was passed on the Schuylkill once with somebody with 2 of these on, and I just got out of their way because it seemed like something bad was going to happen. And where did they get to? I mean, come on. So, all right, the nice thing about this is when you're done and you get a new tire, this can go back in as long as you haven't done any damage to it. So it's reusable. Also, I will recommend that if you have an older car, you should go in and check the tire pressure and make sure that it is still at 60 PSI. Because over time, it would lose air, and then you go to get the spare out, the spare's flat, you're not going anywhere, okay? All right, so we did this. I'm gonna put this over here, and the reason I say to set it up this way, so we don't scratch anything, and that would go for either tire when you take it off. All right, my assistant, I need you back.
Oh, can you do somebody else now?
Well, I think that you're, yeah, well, you're the one that's volunteering. Everybody else is a little shy. Okay, so we need to get some tools out. Oh, look, there's a bag.
Oh, how about that?
And it seems to be stuck. It's been a while, maybe, since that's been out. It's melted to the, okay, so we can put that right there.
There's a jack.
And there's a jack in here. Now this jack,
Am I going to find any contraband in here? I swear. You went through it ahead of time.
this jack is what's known as a scissor jack. It's very easy to use. I can show you how I'll be able to turn this even with my hands once we've put it underneath the car. That's the beauty of it. Anybody can do it. I taught a class where I had a 7-year-old girl who did this whole thing for her mom. So I said, you make sure you're driving around with your mom because she's going to need you to change that tire. So here's our jack. It's usually in there and it's wedged in by turning this to tighten it. So it makes it bigger and it's tightened in there. Again, go in and try it. I think that there's like this big guy at the end of each car build that like cranks this thing down so that nobody can get him out. So you could put like a screwdriver in here to loosen it. So just loosen it and hand tight it and put it back in. It obviously you don't want it to rattle, so it needs to be tight. But sometimes they're in there so tight the first time you can't get it out. And a lot of times there's not a tool in that toolkit that'll fit in here to loosen it. So, yep, we're going to be using those. Okay, so what do you have there in your hand? Do you know?
A lug wrench
Absolutely.
and a hook for the lug wrench somehow.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Exactly. That is exactly how that works. And that's going to hook right into this
Our rehearsal
to
did
do
well,
a
didn't
yes.
it?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell him I'd never met you before. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to tell you is to close this when you're done. Because if while I'm sitting on the side of the road and there's a light on in there, there's a chance that we could do some wearing down of the battery and you get all excited and go to drive away and then the car won't start. So there's a lot of fun things that can happen. Okay, so I'm going to ask for another assistant
Good.
to do some work. Okay, so we're on the side of the road now. We've got all our stuff. We know we have a tire. We've got the tools. What are we doing right now? What's next? So you see this little scissor jack? Do you think that's going to be doing a lot of movement maybe once it's in the air if we start going like this on the car? Yes. So I want to loosen those lug nuts before. We're not taking them off. I'm just loosening them so that when I put it up in the air, I don't have to really do a lot of pressure to it once it's up. Okay? All right. So who's going to loosen the lug nut? I think you are, Missy. Come on right out here.
Woo! Woman of many talents.
Okay, so Which way are you going to turn this to get that lug nut off? Okay. Make sure it's on there all the way. Okay, so it's going which way then? Okay. Which way is left? Your other left. Yeah, that way. Yep, down. Okay. Oh, is that really hard? Oh my word. What are we going to do now? Oh no. We're this helpless woman on the side of the road. Okay, no. Oh no, yes. Oh, fair maiden. Can I help you? All right, so if you look at this, I just want to show you this. Does this look like you could break it? No. Okay, so I just want to show you you're not going to hurt this. See this big car? It weighs a few thousand pounds. You're really not going to hurt it either. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this on. You're going to make sure that's on all the way, and then you're going to stand on there. And you want to stand out at the furthest point that you can. And if you have to jump on it, you can. And look at that. Okay, so that's all you need to do is just loosen it. Okay. All right, how about somebody else? You with the camera. So if you can't get it off by turning it, it should only be about anywhere from 80 to 100 foot-pounds, which is something that all of us should be able to take off. But we know what happens. You go to the shop, they get those guns out, and they just go, bad things happen. So even with sandals, we've got some sandals on. Might be a good idea to throw a pair of sneakers in your trunk, especially women if you've got high heels or something on. They're not, and it's raining, remember? So your foot's going to slide. So remember, it's raining. There you go. See that? All right. Okay, that's good. All right. Anybody else want to try? Who's trying?
It's all about the comedy, but when it comes to hard
Yeah, come on over. Kurt's going to try.
Right.
There. Oh, did you notice that? That was kind of like ballet-ish.
I'm training.
Okay, I think we got to get Ann over here. Now, try to put this on so that it's not, obviously you can't stand on it if it's here. And I had somebody in a class who was like, I'm going to put it here and ninja kick it. And I'm like, that's not going to end well. This is going to come off. So try to get it in a place where you know you have some room to go and you can stand on it.
Just do one, or
You can, it depends on how much you need. Come on. There you go. Woo. Okay.
bad foot too. No excuse.
Okay. So I've got one more. Is anybody else feeling inspired? Come on. Yeah, George. Georgie, you only weigh a little less than I do, so, you know, if I can get anything off, you can too. Stand out as far as you can, because the further away, the more pressure you're going to have. There you go. You can put your other foot up there if you want. Don't be afraid to bounce on it. Bounce, bounce, oh. Okay, don't open the door though. Maybe we should leave the doors locked. No, go ahead. You're almost there. Keep, oh.
Good thing you're not driving.
Wow. Drive with someone bigger than you. Keep going. Come on, bounce.
Maybe starting higher.
Okay. Well,
Angle it up.
Yeah, angle it up.
I think it's going to be too high, because then you know your foot's going to slide. I think part of it would be your shoes. If you had like sneakers on, you would probably be more comfortable to do it. Let's see. Maybe it's just really hard. You know what I mean? Thanks for loosening that for me. Okay, so now I'm just going to go around real quick. I'm just going to make sure that I got them all, that they're just loose. Okay, and so now what are we ready to do? Okay, we're going to jack it up. So you'll notice on this jack, there's 2 points here. There's a piece on the car that we're going to set this in, right underneath here. If you look in the owner's manual, or even right here on the jack, it shows you exactly where the lift points are. The lift points are always going to be right in front of whatever wheel you're working on. So if you're lifting this up, you're going to go right here. And if you're lifting this one up, you're going to go right here. Honda does a great thing. I know I worked for Honda for 7 years, and on this plastic they used to put big arrows. So once you got down there, it was pretty hard to mess it up. But you'll see on this car, and if anybody wants to come and look, it's going to go up on a plate that actually hangs down. There's a separate plate right here, and it's probably about this long, and that's where it's going to lift it. So
Screw up. You're going to wreck the plastic?
if you put this on the plastic, yes, you'll just crush the plastic. The other thing that's interesting about this is when you're doing this and you go and look under your car, I find it really interesting to see how many people have not lifted your car in the right space. And you look under there and you find all this crushed stuff, and it's like, oh, when did that happen? Huh? Because normally you wouldn't be sticking your head underneath there. So, all right, so I'm going to set this up, and then I'm going to have you guys lift it, but then you'll be able to come and see where it is. Every car is fairly similar, so. Okay, so now I'm to the point where I want to make sure this is sitting flat and it's not at an angle. So once I start lifting it, it won't slide out from underneath there. The other thing I'll tell you, a good idea to have maybe in your car, it's a piece of wood. I went to like Home Depot and this was in their scrap bin. It didn't cost me anything. What do you think I would use this for? No?
As a base?
Yeah, let's say I have to pull over somebody somewhere and it's a soft shoulder. I'm not on a hard surface. Well, I've only got that little bit of space, and the chances are it's going to sink before it lifts the car. If I've got something just even this big as a base to put underneath there, look how much more room I have. It's going to keep the car from sinking. Okay, so where's our other tools now? Yep. Oh, they're both here. Okay, so some of these cars will come with an actual handle, and it looks like a kind of crazy L shape or S, and you put it on to crank. Others of them come with these two pieces. So this is now your handle, and this is the hook that's going to go in here. So you're going to put it together this way so that you can use this as a handle. Okay. Now I'm going to make this look really easy. I'm just telling you, I've done this a million times. So this goes through here. Okay. And then this goes on like a handle. You want to hold whichever hand I'm right-handed. So I'm going to hold on to this with my left hand. I'm going to turn with my right. If you're left-handed, you'd be on the other side, turning with your left, holding with your right, okay? All I'm doing with this hand is trying to keep this straight so that it's not doing this, which you'll see. So I'm just holding this and I'm turning. And you'll see, watch the space between here. I'm doing right. I'm tightening it to make it grow. Okay? So you can see I'm lifting. I'm not really doing much exerting. So I want to, Jordy, come on over here. I just want to show you, it is so easy. So I want you to turn that and just see how easy it is. And it's because it's a scissor jack. So see that? It's not hard, is it? No, not at all. Go ahead, keep turning. I like to watch, see how, it's all going to work out. One of the things I'll tell you while he's doing that is, this is not the kind of jack you put on your car when you decide it's time to do an oil change. Okay, there should be no going underneath with that. You see that? It's got a threaded like pipe through there, and if something were to happen and that fell, it would all come down and you would be underneath there. So it's only to put up so that we're going to be lifting the car just enough to get that wheel off the ground. Is your wheel off the ground yet?
Yeah.
Can you kind of rock it? The tire, yeah, can you move it?
Yeah.
Is it totally off? Okay, it is. It's off the ground. So see that? Okay, so if anybody has George in the car when you're out and you get a flat, you can send him out to do that. All right, so then what I do is I take this off and just kind of set it over here so we don't bump it or do anything to it. The other thing you want to be careful of, got people in the car with you, they shouldn't be out here like this. Hey, what's happening? leave them in the car. They should be on the other side away from the road. Don't be doing anything where we're pushing on the car or hanging on it, okay? All right, so now, remember we loosened those lug nuts. So at this point, they should all be loose. It's hard to reach your fingers in there, so you're probably just gonna use this tool to get them out. And I'll tell you, if you're working on like a, lug nut. If you're working on like a Volkswagen, you're gonna pull a whole stud out, which the first time I did that scared me. I'm like, oh, I broke something. So it's a little bit harder to line up. This one has the studs on the wheel, so you're gonna be able to just set it back on there. So just know, if you pull the whole thing out, it's okay. That's how it works. But these are just the lug nuts. Okay, so one thing I will tell you not to do is to be like, woohoo, I got my lug nuts out all by myself. Because you know what? You need these. You need these for later. So, yes, try to, if you have a wheel cover, it's great. You can flip it over and set them in it. A pocket, or it just depends. Because if you're, it's real easy to kick them if you've got them on the ground, or don't try this at home until you've done it a few times too. I'll just tell you, that wrench goes flying, it's going to hurt somebody. Okay, so we've got all our lug nuts off. I just pushed on the top of the wheel, came right off. If it doesn't, and I've had many tires where this gets rusted behind here and then it kind of like seals it. You can totally kick this tire. And what you want to do is put yourself on the ground and kick either the bottom or the top. The bottom is probably easier. And you're just going to give it a good kick, and it's probably going to pop right off of there. So we didn't take it off very far, so I don't have to lift this. Okay, carrying this tire is not something that you want to have to do. It's not light. You think that tire was heavy? This tire is really heavy. So one of the things I tell people too is, remember, once you take this off, this has to go with you. You don't want to leave this on the side of the road. So I've got to get this back in the car. So when you're someone like my size, lifting that up and putting it in is not going to be a super easy thing to do. So one of the things I would tell people is, after you put your spare on and it's back on the ground, then you can open that up, whether it's a trunk or a hatchback. If you wheel this up like this to the back of the bumper, you can put your knee and just wheel it up into it. Or open the back door, wheel it into the back seat. That's why I tell people to carry a blanket or something to protect your seats or whatever you need, because that's a really easy place to get it into. I had a woman who was about 80 years old that took one of my classes, and I said, you know what, you can wheel it in there. And we even tried it, and we got it up on the lift, the back door. It worked fine. So, unless somebody's with you. When you're laying this wheel down, always want to lay it with the alloy up so we don't scratch it. Just trying to protect it while you have it. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about that? Taking the wheel off, pretty simple, huh? Pretty easy. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the treads while we have the tire off, because most of you don't get a chance to see this when it's off. And to let you know, like, how do I know when my tire is worn and I need a new tire? Well, on every tire, you're gonna find there are these little tread wear indicators in several places on the tire. They're inside the low line of the tread, and they're just little bumps that stick up. And you guys can come and look. Come look. Everyone, come closer.
Where?
Can you see right here?
Yes.
Okay.
Little nipple.
Yep. See, they're right there.
Yeah.
There's another one right here. Okay. So in the state of Pennsylvania, anything less than 230 seconds will fail a tire. That is 230 seconds. When those pieces are on the ground, your tire is done and you need to replace it. So the other thing that you can do is, if you want to buy something, I have the tool. but this is a tire tread depth reader. So the way this works is you stick this in the tire so that that part is in the low part, and you push this down until those little wings come down on the tread, and then you can read. So this tire is, it looks like about 9 30-seconds. So remember I said 2 30-seconds is where we are, so it's got some life left on this. 9, 10, 12 at the most is usually like a newer tire. Okay, so that's how you know. And if the tire's on the car, these are real easy. You can just reach in and check the tire.
When it's brand new, what's the depth?
10, 12. Depends on what it is. Obviously, a truck tire is going to be deeper than a car tire. We talked about like the tire pressure being at around in the 30s or something like that. Where do you find that tire pressure? How do you know what it should be?
On the wall.
Okay, so, and that's a common thing that people say, but I'm going to propose this to you. Do you think that this tire right here is only made for this vehicle? Not. This tire is made for multiple vehicles, and depending on the weight of this car is how we're going to do tire pressure. So knowing that, where do you think we're going to find tire pressure? Yeah, on the car. You're always going to find it on the car. So usually it's in the driver's door on the inside panel, or it'll be in the owner's manual. You get that out. And another good thing to bring up is there's a lot of cars out there now that they're making that are run flat tires. You've probably heard that. It's called run flat. They're expensive. You have to replace them. You usually have to replace all of them. But the run flat tire, this part of the tire is made super, super strong. So if the tire loses all its air, it can run on just this. This will hold up the tire and get you where you're going. It's great in that sense, but it's bad in the sense that they're expensive. So that's everything on taking the tire off. Now, I'm not going to put this one on because it's done the same way, but I am going to pick this up and we're going to just kind of say, all right, now we've got this tire to go on. Do you think it goes on like this or like this? This way. Yep. So keep in mind that we've got brake system in here. We need some place for that to go. I had students when I was working at the college that put it on backwards. We watched the whole thing just to see what would happen. And you can't tighten it. I mean, it just, yeah, so they learned, and that's why we let them do it, you know. But yeah, you want to put it on this way. So that's how that spare goes on. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to put this one back on.
So you would basically just put that on, tighten your lug nuts, and then you'll show
Yep, same thing I'm going to do with this, only if this was the spare, okay? All right, so we're going to get this back over here. We have to line it up. Remember I told you the studs are still here. So I've got to line them up. And keep in mind that we've got it off the ground just enough for the tire to not be sitting on the ground. So it's only about that high. So now I'm here by myself and I'm trying to line up the holes and pick the tire up, you know. Okay, that's crazy. It's not going to work. So I'm going to show you my way of doing this. I'm going to get it as close as I can. You've noticed I haven't really picked this tire up off the ground. Okay? No reason to pick it up. I'm just keep sliding it till I'm over closer, closer, closer. I'm going to sit myself down on the ground. I want to line up those studs. Now I'm off by just a little bit because this is sitting on the ground, right? I'm not going to use my back and lift all that. I'm going to put my feet right underneath it. See my toes underneath? And then I'm just going to lift. Okay? So, right. Anybody could do that. Now, I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to keep my feet here so this wheel doesn't fall back off again. And I'm just going to put in a couple of the lug nuts to hold it. So, as you can imagine, working in this industry at my size, I learned how to do things very different. The guys would laugh at me when I'd have to change tires and I'd only put the car this far off the ground. I'm like, I don't need to pick that up. I'm just going to go and take the tire off, roll it to where I need to do, and put it back on. It doesn't need to be way up here with me going like this and trying to carry the tire, you know, someplace. Forget that. Okay, so at this point now, we've kept our lug nuts from rolling away, and we have them all. So we're just going to put them all back on. And how tight do you think I need to do them? Yeah, we're not going to tighten them all the way, remember? So here's a question while I'm doing this. Let's say you go to put your lug nuts on and you can't find them all because you were so happy and when you threw them in the air that you lost one or two. What do you do then? Okay, so if you had 3, you'd, first of all, you're right, you wouldn't want to just go 1, 2, 3 like this. You would try to do 2 across from each other and then put the other one somewhere. But what else can you do? You have 3 other tires, right? You take 1 off of each other one. All right? So you can drive with this, has 5 on it. So you can drive with 4 on each one. So just borrow it, but don't leave it like that. And you will fail inspection if you don't have it on there. So just a heads up, you have to have all your lug nuts on your vehicle. Now, I want to make sure when I tighten this that I just tighten it enough so that the wheel is not moving. In other words, I want this to be as flush with this as it can. Because the last thing I want to do is put this vehicle down, have all the weight on it, and have the tire sitting at an angle like this. Because now, as I try to tighten those lug nuts with the weight of the vehicle on it, there's a good chance I'm going to snap something. One of those studs, or I could do damage to the threads on the lug nut itself. Okay, so I'm just making sure that they're snug. And now my tire's not going to move at all. So, who hasn't come up and done some volunteering? Oh, look, you raised your hand. Come on over. It is your car, after all.
Is this how you shift liability? I guess?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to lower it. So which way are you going to want to turn it? Towards, yes, you're taking it down now. And you can see it coming down. It's always easier coming down because you've got the weight of the vehicle on it to help you. And look, he's got that perfect. I don't see it going all over the place. Great job. Good job. It's like a commercial.
Lancaster near you.
Yeah. And it just keep going until you can pull that out. Can you pull the whole thing out? Okay. All right, great. So really important thing is that you remember to pull that jack out. You get all excited and then you drive away and you run over the jack. It's not going to be good. All right. So now we need to take that handle off. And this is very important. Don't forget, we still have to tighten those, right? They're hand tight, but they're not tight enough. So just like we put them on, we're going to tighten them. So who did we not get to loosen?
Jason.
Well, I've got 5 of them, so. All right, so now we're going to be tightening, so righty-tighty. So I want to see both feet on that and your full weight.
Me too.
And just give it a little bounce. Okay, and that's all you need. All right? You don't need to go now and, yeah. So you don't need to go and take it somewhere and have them tighten them even more than that. That's good enough. Now, where do you think the next one I want to tighten? Across, right. I don't want to just start tightening all the way around here and pull the wheel at it kind of an angle. I want to go straight across so that I'm tightening them. All right, who else? Let's get somebody else. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this on every single one. And I shouldn't be able to budge it. If I can move it at all, it means I've missed it and I didn't tighten it. And you can do that because when you're, trying to count it and go around, you might think, oh, I got them all, but you didn't. So that's a great way to just make sure that you got them all. So, last thing before you pick up and go, make sure you put the tools back in the vehicle. You have the tire, whatever tire, you know, your old tire in the car so that you can take it and get it fixed. Don't be driving 70 miles an hour on the spare tire. And I would say if you can get that tire replaced within a week, it's a good option. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with everything happening at the Candy Factory, a co-working and social club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.